Good afternoon. Good evening to folks in Liberia, and welcome to the Hour of Politics. Always with me, Ansony Sieh, your host. I am smiling today as I resume another edition of the Hour of Politics, another analytical piece that I'm bringing your way. I will analyze, I will summarize, and I will provoke you as always. Folks, it is about this country called Liberia. The topic for today couldn't be so succinct, so timely. The narrowest paths of the opposition candidates to be in 2023. All those in the opposition who will be running or are running to become president of Liberia, their chances have narrowed, gotten narrower, and now their chances are at the narrowest point. And so for anybody who will be an opposition candidate comes 2023, that person has the narrowest chance to becoming president. Not that it is impossible, not that it is not doable, but realistically speaking, their chances, all of them, have gotten to the narrowest point. So who are the candidates to be? By the way, oh, come on, you know them all. But I will look at the serious ones. I mean, it is debatable, right? To think that they are serious. But in my understanding of seriousness for one to be a serious candidate for the upcoming general and presidential elections, look, folks, I have not marked the word serious to any of them, but I will, for the sake of this presentation, not dismiss the individuals who we know are running. They are running. Number one is Tiawan, Sieh Gongloe, the councillor from the Liberian People's Party, a progressive who has a very good public service record. He's a good servant of our country. He's a patriot. And also Mr. Alexander Bernard Cummings. He is running. So just because of the sake of argument, let me be nice to them today. Let's take them serious, quote unquote, let's take them serious. And in the true sense of seriousness, where they are serious is that they are serious that they want to run for president. Just that pronouncement, just that ambition, just that desire that they want to be president. I think they are serious about it. But in the true sense of seriousness, they are not there yet. So Mr. Alexander Bernard Cummings, let me do justice to him, just as I did justice to Tiawan Gongloe. Alexander Bernard Cummings is an excellent Liberian citizen, and no one dare question his Liberianness. He definitely is, and the records are there, and the history and the laws are also on his side. I know that remains debatable today. But me being a true Liberian who questions some of our laws, and more so about what is a reality and what is true, Mr. Cummings is a Liberian. He's one of Liberia's good sons who, to his credit, came to the United States and did well for himself, educated himself, went into corporate America, and excelled very exceedingly well for himself and for himself only, and has decided to give back to his country and his people, something that he has been doing very, very well. But when it comes to the politics, there was the question mark that I put to his decision making. It is as gigantic as the Atlantic Ocean that is right behind my village of Saston. Then also into our serious category of candidate is Vice President Joseph Yuma Boakai. My reading of Joseph Yuma Boakai is critical. There are some good things about Dr. Boakai. I'm calling him doctor because he has 5 honorary doctorate degrees to his name. Many of you don't know. And I want to share that with you as a guy who always looking things up. And I want to say to you, I have a file for all of these individuals who are running. But that is for another day. So Mr. Boakai or Dr. Boakai, served as Liberia very loyally as his vice president for 12 years. And prior to that, he have, had other positions in government. As a family man, I believe Mr. Boakai is a decent family man, a humble Liberian, something people have credited him for. But is Boakai a leader? There where I put a question mark, and that question mark, just as the one with Mr. Cummings, is as gigantic as the one I placed to Mr. Cummings. So folks, let us get into it. Why are these 3 men? I mean, by the way, where are the women of Liberia? Where are our smart, educated, talented women? Where are they? Elections are just next year. Or the presidential election is just next year. We have had the greatest opportunity in our life to have a woman to serve our country as leader. Something the most powerful countries in the world, many of them, most of them have not seen. Even the greatest country on earth, the US, finally got a VP as female. They are not there yet, and we are leading the way. So where are our women? What time are they waiting for to get into the race? But I will save that for another day. And so, folks, we're going to get started here in no time in doing a succinct analysis of the narrowest chances or chance that each of these candidates, has comes 2023. And before we do that, we're going to introduce our network. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with the analysis.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Ja.
Denisha, thank you. And of course, Ansony Sieh is the name. Our topic remains the narrowest paths of the opposition candidates to be in 2023. So let's get the ball rolling. In our serious category, seriousness here only and only meaning that person is definite that they want to be president, whether or not they have all the strategies in place, whether or not they have a team, whether or not each has a political party that is robust, that is solid, and whether or not each has the numbers, which is the game changer at the end of the day. I'm not sure any of them is there yet. So let's start with Tiawan Gongloe, who is running to be president. And let me tell you quite boldly how Mr. Gongloe's chance is one of the narrowest of all. Mr. Gongloe comes from the political party, the LPP. This party had a political opportunity during the presidency of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. Many of the progressives were in the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf administration. A good number of them from the Liberian People Party that Tiawan Gongloe is from. It's like little did they know that they had zero interest in building this political party. It's like they did not consider, they did not think about the possibility of the Liberian People's Party feeding a candidate in election following the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf presidency. It's like they did not think about that. We have the likes of Kofi Wu, who is a progressive. My understanding is he has had some association with the Liberian People's Party. If I'm wrong on that, somebody should let me know. Kofi Wu served in that administration. What did Kofi Wu do for the Liberian People's Party? I know he will have a reason for not being involved with that political institution. If I'm right, that Mr. Wu had some association with the Liberian People's Party. Another person we heard about is Tiawan Gongloe, who would be the focus of the discussion. Tiawan Gongloe was in the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf administration. So he was working, he was earning money. And besides that, he has been the president of the Liberian National Bar Association. Has Tiawan Gongloe had this desire, this ambition to become president one day? Did Tiawan Gongloe forget that he would need his political party? Did he forget that? If he did not forget that, then why did Tiawan Gongloe not provide leadership at the time, given that he will need this political party today, and he did not do anything to help build that party? Instead, that party was languishing somewhere in a closet and getting dusted. Why did he do that? Now, in addition to Tiawan Gongloe is Dr. H. Bama Formula, a fierce intellectual par excellence. He ran on this party's ticket before, if I'm not mistaken. But what I'm firm on is he has been a member of the Liberian People's Party. That the formula may have done one little thing here and there, maybe paying for headquarters or the office space. That is not significant. He was in the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf administration. He was the national security advisor in the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf administration, to the best of my knowledge, for the entire 12 years. The formula and all other progressives who were part of the Liberian People's Party did not know that there will come a time that they will need the political institution to feed a candidate for president. So if all of these actors didn't know, how come Tiawan did not know? that he would need this political party. The point is, if Tiawan Gongloe has been calculative, if Tiawan Gongloe had a plan all along to be president of Liberia, one of the first things he should have done was to build, to resuscitate, to revive, and to bring back to life politically the Liberian People's Party that today he wants to serve as his presidential candidate. My understanding is that there are issues there. And there are criticisms of Tiawan Gongloe that he was nowhere around for the party when the party needed out of them. And now here he comes, and he wants to run on the party's ticket. That is an issue. If Tiawan has done what he needed to do, owing to the fact that he have had this ambition, his political party will be in a much better place. His political party name will be in Liberia political disco as of now. What we know, because of the way these leaders, including Tiawan, they have more like abandoned this political institution. So that political institution disappeared. It has had no political relevance other than history of being one of Liberia's older political parties, founded some time back, and was denied participation in previous elections during the Doe's administration. That is one of the things that has brought Tiawan Gongloe's chances to its narrowest point. Imagine if all of these progressive, when they were in government, because the fact is a good number of these progressive have been friends of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. They were all in political advocacy together. In fact, Tipote, who had been one of the arrowheads of the Liberian People's Party, is one of such person Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf respect a lot, or respected a lot. Or maybe I should say respects a lot because he's still alive, right? Another person is Tiawan Gongloe. He has this excellent record. He has a good name recognition, his advocacy, poor man lawyer, and all of that. So if they, especially Tiawan, who wants to be now, were intentional, were calculative, if they had a plan for this party, they could have struck a deal with Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, and their political party would be in the narrative today. But they blew it. And here they are. And here is Tiawan running. And the only name we hear is Tiawan Gongloe is running. All we hear is friends of Tiawan Gongloe. As today, or for the political party, the Liberian People's Party, all we see with Tiawan is a broom, which is a symbol of the Liberian People's Party that represents the sweeping of corruption, bad governance, and all other ills in our social democratic space. Is that significant? It is symbolic. But the fact that they did not do well to build this institution and attach the institution name to its symbol, and then to blend it with Tiawan's own character, that has narrowed their chances. Because the party has no structures in all of the counties. Zero. There are individuals in the counties, very few individuals, as a matter of fact, who share some form of affinity with the political party LPP. They are reminiscing about the history. I love this thing. So that is Emmanuel's, and that has brought Tiawan Gongloe's chances to its narrowest point. So let me contrast that with, say, the CDC. The CDC is a disgraced political party, and I don't have my feelings. That party is disgraced. But it has a superb name recognition. It has a superb connection to many voters in Liberia. The CDC by far has been one of Liberia's grassroots political movement. You cannot and should not dismiss the CDC despite being a disgraced political party. So imagine if the LPP had that connection, that grassroots connection to the ordinary voters, that the ordinary people could relate to the Liberian People's Party. This party has one of the best names among the political parties in Liberia because it encompasses nationalism and patriotism. The Liberian People's Party. It is some kind of inclusive in terms of name. Anybody will want to identify with it. But the reason people are like, what is that? Is because these leaders did not do what they needed to do. When all along, I would suppose they will want to be in the political narrative. So the time is late to popularize the name, the Liberian People's Party, to connect it to most of the young voters of today. The fact remains, folks, most of the voters of today are young people. I'm not sure how many of them read about the Liberian People's Party. I'm not sure how many of them can relate to the name, the Liberian People's Party. They might have known some individuals like Tiawan, Tipote, H. Bremer Formula, Dr. Marcus Dan, and many others progressive, Jude Twan Mason, I understand, and many others. That is the names people hear. How do they connect this name to this political institution? What impact in terms of political consciousness does this political party has played in their life? What kind of education in terms of politics has this institution played in the life of today's voters other than those of the past? No history in the life of today's voters. So the disconnect is huge and it is unbalanced. So let's leave that. Let's come to Tiawan, the man. How connected is Tiawan to the Liberian people? Is Tiawan down to earth? Of course, Tiawan is down to earth. Is that enough? That is not enough. When you are down to earth, you must also, or more so, become a popular person. Now, the fact is, just in as much as I disagree with nearly everything about this brother, he's down to earth. His name is a symbol that even those who disagree with him recognize. Is that the case with Tiawan Gongloe, with a good number of the voters in Liberia? That is a no. Now, can Tiawan and his team and his political party move quickly and swiftly and boldly to make that happen? The answer is, it is doable. But do they have it? Do they have the time to even do that? What I'm saying, as I continue to observe, is that a good number of our respected brothers and sisters and educated individuals in our community, Liberia, are with Tiawan because Tiawan is something remarkable. His character, his understanding of Liberia, His Liberianness is profound. And the fact that he's a man of integrity. So many people, serious-minded Liberians, who have no reservation whatsoever to vote Tiawan or to support him. But a good number of these people, either they don't have the time to make the necessary sacrifices, except for few. Most of his supporters are well-educated people. Most of them are professionals who have huge responsibilities on their hands, who are family and fathers and mothers, to abandon that which they are doing right now to commit to a Tiawan campaign, which will require all of the efforts, is much more like unlikely, because they are engaged, they are busy, they cannot take time off their busy schedule. Maybe they can do a day or two, and that is not enough when this man Tiawan is way behind this game. He's far behind. He's far behind the narrative. He's far behind with name recognition. His party is still in political coma. His team is trying to find a narrative. They are not on the offensive yet. They are not driving the narrative. So that is a serious problem. And that has brought Tiawan's chances to the narrowest point. Do not get me wrong. I maintain it is doable, except that it is so narrow. It is at a narrowest point that it will require a whole lot of time, effort, commitment, money. It will require people going from county to county in a much forceful and consistent and continuous manner. Is it possible that Team Tiawan or Tiawan Gongloe the man or the political party LPP can get that kind of commitment with time and money and all kinds of resources and people volunteering to do so? I don't see that possibility. And that brought Tiawan Gongloe's chances to the narrowest point. Now, another thing is the issue of collaboration. If anyone in the opposition community is to win this thing, that person cannot do it alone. That political institution cannot do it alone. So, Tiawan is on record for saying, and I quote, "I will win this thing in first round." I take a strong exception and vehemently to that statement made by Tiawan Gongloe. That is politically unlikely in our body politics of today. You know, I know maybe he said that to inspire his people, but that is far from the truth, and I didn't expect to hear that from Tiawan Gongloe, who has projected and demonstrated, to put it right, to use the right word, as a man who tells the truth. There are times that we make statements with the intention to inspire, but if it is something that is far from reality, that is not doable, then it becomes either a lie or either a deception. But that is not the deal here. So Tiawan is in the US. He's trying to make some effort here, moving from state to state, making his case, meeting Liberians, trying to raise a few dollars here and there. Now, I don't want to bore you whether or not they are tenants. I've been impressive. That is another thing. But he is doing what he can. Is he getting all the help he needs? But I was speaking about the issue of collaboration. If Tiawan is to win this in first round, the only way it is possible, based on my calculation, politically speaking, is when you have a unified opposition behind Tiawan as the candidate. Because if a man with an impeccable character like Tiawan is the candidate of a united opposition that comes with a narrative or a message of change and speaking against the ills and the corruption that is rampant in this corrupt government, Tiawan is a good clarity when it comes to speaking against the ills in our society. He been in the room and came out clean. So if there is any message about change, Tiawan makes an excellent candidate for a united opposition. So this becomes the question. Can Tiawan, with his limited resources, with his limited national name recognition throughout the length and breadth of Liberia, with the fact that his political party is yet to resurrect and has no structures and has no political respect in terms of numbers and recognition in Liberia, can Tiawan be the candidate of a united opposition political front? No, that is unlikely. And the reasons are obvious. First, his party has no history of projecting serious numbers. Two, he has no money. Three, this is his first time in his business, and I'm not sure he is a new national candidate as yet. Even though that may not matter. But that will matter if he comes to the table to argue that he becomes the candidate of a united opposition. Because the thing is, our politics is so bad that people who are in this political space, they don't want to see the best of us to represent us. And that is sickening and that is sad. Only if we had a sanitized political culture, only if our politics or political actors were more about finding the best of us, that would register a sharp contradiction, a sharp distinction, that would be near perfection, and that would show that the ruling establishment will have zero argument against any such candidate, and that such candidate presents the best option and alternative for our people, even only if political actors and most voters in Liberia have care about the sanctity of decision making. Then, of course, Tiawan will find it easy for all other parties who don't have better name recognition. Who don't have a good chances, who don't have no integrity, to allow Tiawan to be the candidate in the interest of our dear country, Liberia. Sadly and sadly, this is much more unlikely for Tiawan to be. And that has brought Tiawan chances to the narrowest point of all. But if out of a sudden they were to happen in Liberia, I can guarantee you that one round theory Tiawan is talking about will be inevitable. So the question is, Can Tiawan back this big talk that he will win this thing in the first round? Can he back it with action? Does he even have the formula for that? Does he even have the strategy? Does he even have the plan? Is he able to go out and craft this possibility? And if he does, what are the tools he will be using? What are the resources he will be using? What is the team that he's going to put together to make that happen? In this political space, I doubt it. But folks, I must submit here that if that were to be possible, Tiawan would be right to say he can win this thing in first round, for he makes an excellent candidate for the presidency, not only because his Liberianness is profound, not because he is a patriot, and not because he is a man of integrity, but it is more so because he understands the issues about. And I believe Tiawan is that character who possesses the ability to tap into qualified individuals and will waste no time to commission an audit, will waste no time to demand the establishment of the World and Economic Crime Court, will waste no time to demand an audit of all past regimes, and will waste no time to fire anybody, will waste no time to ensure that the judiciary is reformed and transformed, and that justice will not be for sale in Liberia, and that Tiawan will not indulge in political debauchery because he has zero appetite for material wealth. He is not like my brother we are, who appetite for material things and fine things is so much insatiable. I met this brother of mine. Sometimes I wonder how come we share the same town. How this guy could be this greedy when he has had it all, when he has seen it all, when he should be that much better example many thought he would have become, for which they voted for him anyway. But I will get to where one day. So that are the reasons, fellow Liberians, Tiawan Gongloe's chances for becoming president, Tiawan Gongloe's chances to becoming president, to pull it right, are at the lowest point of all, or at the narrowest point of all. So that would do it for Tiawan. Let me get to Mr. Alexander down in the comments. Alive. So, folks, Alexander Ben in the comments is running to be president for our dear country, Liberia. We are told he comes from the corporate world, and that is true. We are also told and aware he is a man from an arena that is dependent on results, from a result-driven arena, from an arena where people demand accountability, where truth-telling is the order of the day. And so we had thought all along that he will come, or that he has come with those values, and that he will maintain an excellent understanding and execution of these values. But I will not hesitate to say Mr. Cummings has not been able to display it, has not been able to exhibit the production of results. He has not been able to demand accountability as it is demanded in the corporate arena. Mr. Cummings came with this saying that he has popularized in our Liberian political space, and that is the yardstick we will continue to use to critique this man. For we want anyone who wants to be president of this country to come with nothing and nothing but their utmost best. And if you don't come with your best, I am the guy who has chosen to do an analytical critique of our leaders. And the reason I do it is because I want the best for this country and its people have suffered so long from bad leaders, from leaders with no vision. And so, may I tell you the reasons why Mr. Cummings' chances have reached the narrowest point of all. Number one, the political party of Mr. Cummings, the ANC, is not strategic. Its members are fighting like schoolgirls and boys on social media. They do not know what is important. It's like they are yet to identify the variables that will make Mr. Cummings to become president. They dwell on things that are childish. They engage in personal attacks that are nothing to Mr. Cummings' chances. Instead, things that are turning people off from Mr. Cummings. And I think you see I'm stretching my eyes and I'm getting more serious here. Look, I can't with no malice, ill will for no man. If you believe our country is in trouble, then this is not a place to joke when we're talking about leadership. I query no one for criticizing me. Even with my terrible pronunciation of the word, if you query me for that, if you question me for that, I cannot wait other than to love you the most. And why don't deep people just understand that in politics, leaders are supposed to be criticized and are people supposed to give their opinions? And these opinions and criticisms are meant to either strengthen or serve as mirrors to the individual with this quest to become president. What is Cummings not in charge here of these political parties, and his actors and surrogates are like loose cannons just attacking just about anybody who criticizes Mr. Cummings? How does that add value? How does that elevate Mr. Cummings' chances for the presidency? But this is all that they do day after day. And when they do so, especially with a guy who is firm, respectful, but tough, and tells the truth nearly all of the time, if you come after me for those little petty things, then I say, get on. After all, we are talking about our country. So the political party, the ANC, is not strategic. It is petty. They have no vision. They engage in boys and girls fights on social media with critical voices and people trying to, express their disagreements, their opinions on things like, an ill-advised, independent forensic report that is not even an independent report in the first place. I mean, how dare you request a report of this nature and it has no page numbers? I mean, who writes a report like that? And they want to tell us all because it's written by a white woman called Sherry Blair, and because she graduated on top of her class, so she is a perfection and that she makes no mistakes. Is that how you people think? That every man is so perfect and that person makes no mistakes? We are now going to swallow this thing. We are talking about a country, a man who wants to be president of this country, who came with this saying you cannot be doing the same thing over and over and expect different results. And this is the man, after he said all of this, who wastes no time to join a political marriage called the CPP, in which we have known characters who are questionable. For example, the likes of Uri, he went there and he started doing business with him, and they continued to give her excuses why he had to do so. So then, where is this statement? You cannot be doing the same thing over and over and expect different results. That excuse will not hold. He had the right to say, I cannot be here because of this character, and he chose to stay there. And now he's getting that which he ought for, either knowingly or unknowingly. So fast forward, this party, the ANC, has no message. They are not consistent on message. They are only consistent in boys and girls fight. Now, if you even check, they are not preaching their message. They are not selling Mr. Cummings. All of his surrogates have become nothing but a disservice and a disappointment to Mr. Cummings. Or I wish I've had any appetite to support any political candidate. You have seen it all, just as you've seen what I'm doing now. I will not shy away to criticizing these people. Oh, I will do it. And the more people disagree, the more I will do. But I will also acknowledge when I don't do well, and when I make a mistake, or when I say something that is not true. I will acknowledge that because I'm the God of the truth. So, folks, what the ANC can do is to sell their candidate. What they can do is to sell their candidate and leave these fights. It's like the ANC now is exhausted. We are yet to get into the campaign. The ANC is exhausted. What has exhausted them? Useless fights. They are not, at least if they were exhausted about selling this man. So, folks, here's the thing. I look up Mr. Cummings. There are many things he has done. His personal history alone is a book. I have told these people free tutorial, advice that I've given them. Write a book about this man, tell his Liberian story. They have not been able to tell it. Mr. Cummings himself is one of his greatest problems. He does not carry clean, yet claims to be Mr. Clean. Is Mr. Cummings clean about how he came to America? Whether he came on a government scholarship? Mr. Cummings have had a government scholarship here in the United States. Have you heard Mr. Cummings say a thing about that? No. Why has he chosen not to tell that story? Do you know what it means to come on a government scholarship? It shows that you are just like any other ordinary Liberian who benefited from a government scholarship. Why has Mr. Cummings not tell this story? It is a deliberate attempt that he has made not to tell this story. The idea that Mr. Cummings is an elite, this failure to tell this remarkable story that he's a poor man's son who have to take a government scholarship to come to the United States or have benefited from the government scholarship in his desire to get higher education. Why will he not tell that story? His failure to tell that story is to say, well, Maybe he has been there well connected from well-to-do family that he did not have to take a government scholarship. This man's story is not being told. There's so many things he's done in his life. There are so many contributions he's made. He's not telling the story. Maybe he should not be the one telling the story why he's personally done here and there. But his surrogates, they have wealth of information about this man, instead of taking their time to tell the contribution of this man and why they think he makes a good president. They are fighting like chickens on social media. Sad, right? Yes, indeed, that is sad. So the ANC continue to say it is the fastest growing political party in Liberia. But we don't see the numbers. We don't see the numbers. The ANC, to its credit, is raising money here and there. But Mr. Cummings is much more his own problem than even his surrogates. Poor decision making that I was talking about. I mean, come to think about it. Now, to nail this, he is in court. When he gets out of the court, no one knows. Mr. Cummings needs to decide, continue to say, whether he wants to be a politician. He needs to decide. I'm not sure he has decided yet. He wants to be two things at the same time. And I think that is holding him back from becoming the politician he needs to be in a Liberia. He needs to decide. What is Mr. Cummings willing to challenge? So this is Mr. Cummings who said, well, those who have dragged my name and my land, my character, there will be consequences. So first of all, he's announcing what he's going to do. What's the point of announcing what you're going to do? When you're a guy ready, you throw you to court. And that has diminished your standing in politics today. It has narrowed your chances to the narrowest point. All we hear about Cummings is that he's in court. He's in court. He fingered document. You're wasting no time. You are saying that these people who are doing this thing to you, they will face consequences? What does that mean? What is this useless threat? Are you going to do it or not? These people, Ure and his collaborators, they have been like 10 steps ahead of Mr. Cummings from day one. From day one, they've been 10 steps ahead of him. And now, all those threats, Mr. Cummings just issued a recent threat. There's an article that was published recently against him. The story is that Mr. Cummings has received $100,000 through his Cummings Foundation, and the money is intended to support LGBT community in West Africa. That is the story. Again, the story is that Mr. Cummings, through his foundation, received $100,000 to support LGBT people in West Africa. And that money came from one Edwards. Mr. Cummings and his team believe that story is false and baseless. What did they do? They issue a press statement debunking that story that is all fabrication and made up lies, and the usual thing that there will be consequences. I mean, come on, man. What are you waiting for? Are you ready for prime time here? You want to take action politically? Take action. I mean, this thing is like a little boy, telling your brother that they can't fight. He said, if you do it, I will throw a stone at you. You want to throw the stone, throw the stone. So when is he's going to act? Mr. Cummings, the case that is in court right now against the Unity Party, that decision actually was Musa Belete who make the move and just come and follow. He's like a follower. He's following Musa Belete. Come on. He's in political marriage with Musa Belete. The CPP decision was to divide jobs. That if the CPP were to hold and ultimately win the election of 2023, for a Liberian to be qualified or to be considered for a position, that Liberian needed to be known, visible, and active. In other words, that Liberian needed to only be a member of the CPP to be considered for a job. Mr. Cummings was in that room. He was part of that decision. They formed the CPP. They crafted that document. This man from corporate America was part of that decision. That decision denied all other Liberians the right to employment in a Liberian government, except for those who will be member or part of the CPP. And not only they needed to be known, they needed to be active, and they needed to be visible. Whatever that meant or means, I don't know. Cummings were part of that. And he comes from corporate America, where they don't discriminate individuals on the basis of employment. Now, they have to walk back that document. Couldn't Mr. Cummings have known better than no. When it comes to employment, you don't discriminate. You don't limit employment to certain people. You employ people on the basis of qualification. Mr. Cummings did not make that argument. He did not show himself as the guy from a result-driven community. Now, as though that were not enough, the very Mr. Cummings, after the CDC ran into Taras, and he and his friend Musa Belete, he rose with, and he cares less about who Musa is in the public space. He's doing business with him, as though that itself does not bring to question Mr. Cummings' understanding of decision making. He reached an MOU with Musa Belete. They started dividing jobs in that MOU. Come on, man, Mr. Cummings. Seriously? You didn't learn any lesson from the CPP noise? And you stay in the CPP now with Musa, and you guys are doing the same thing? And you are the one telling us we can't be doing the same thing over and over and expect different results? You failed to bring the non-discriminatory approach to employment from corporate America. You did not bring it to politics. And when we say these things, to correct this man who is a popular figure now in the public space, they come after us for telling the truth. Now, here's the thing. Folks in the ANC will not look Mr. Cummings in the face to tell him these things. A guy like me would do it with no hesitation, because I know that to be the truth. Who's going to tell him? I don't want to call their names. They know themselves. Who's going to tell Mr. Cummings? If there have ever been any of them in the room to tell Mr. Cummings no, he would not be in the place he is today. And this is the very Mr. Cummings who has a matter in court. The case is being adjudicated. He decides to write or commission his own investigation outside of a court investigation. The most sensible thing to have done was to pray or ask the court that I will need an independent forensic report because I disagree with the CPP investigative report. That was the most sensible thing to do. But hey, I get it. Mr. Cummings did it just because he wants to show it to his friends, because he still wants to be this corporate guy and want to be on those boards. So I get that part. That part, it makes sense. But on the political side, no, it makes no sense. That's not that's a better way to do it. But he did it anyway. And now, to talk more about that, if you look at the report, if you look at the title of the report, the Cummings did not read it. His supporters did not read it. Look at the language of the report. They did not read the language in the report. Look at the fact that the report does not have page numbers. They did not know. You accept a report with no page numbers. So how will somebody even quote that report that go on page this? So all we have to do is the report, so and so section. Nothing that we can quote, except for maybe the findings. Finding number 1, 2, and 3. That's all we can quote. We can't quote a page. Mr. Cummings accepts such a report. Amen. And you think that is not poor judgment on his part? And you don't want us to tell you, and you question us, you ask him for credentials, you ask him whether we are expert. We are no expert. But who we are is the fact that we are a citizen. And in a democracy, no day and no day as well. The only qualification any man and woman needs in a democracy to question and demand accountability from any public official is a citizenship. And I am one. And I want you to know that. In a democracy, a participatory one for that matter, a citizen has the right and does not need a degree, does not need a master's degree, does not need any of those things. For it is that citizen's inalienable right to be part of the democratic process. And so this whole idea that who is this guy? What does he know? I don't know. I don't need to know a thing to exercise my right as a citizen. And more so when I'm in this media space, and the media is the four S that are supposed to hold leaders accountable, and you think that is not even something? Or maybe because I do not belong to your what? Your educated class, or I'm not an elitist because I come from a village called Sastan. So I resort in, I don't have right to question leaders. Criticize me, I will love you more. Why don't you love me more when I criticize your leader? Something you will not even muster the courage to do. And many of you call us, you whine about this leader, especially those in the CDC. They will cry and cry and cry, oh, complain about we are Mangel, but they don't have the guts to speak their mind about their country, as though the country is for we are. This is the same behavior that we see in the ANC, and this is the same behavior that we see with Mr. Cummings, and you people don't want us to question those things. When he becomes president, this is what all of you would do. But sadly for you, and sadly for you, I'm glad to report that Mr. Cummings' chances to becoming president in our country, Liberia, are at the narrowest point because of this bad judgment, poor decisions that he has made, and more so you, the surrogates, have not been able to be of service, of any help to this man whatsoever. No. I believe I am of service to this country called Liberia. I'm not getting paid. I'm on point. I'm not getting paid. I'm criticizing leaders. And I will not hesitate to continue to do so. But let me leave my good friend, Mr. Cummings, alone. We all share something in common. He's from the Southeast, I'm told. He's a decent family man, excellent citizen of our country. who has accomplished a lot, who has done well for many Liberians. I don't want to recount the good things Mr. Cummings has done. Of late, he made a donation, I believe it was about 300 or 250,000 Liberian dollars to the Tubman University in Maryland County. Mr. Cummings has given generators to so many institutions. If I'm not mistaken, Cotton University might be one of those institutions. Mr. Cummings has given so much to institutions in contributing to his country. And those of you who believe in this man, instead of selling this man, focusing on message, you just want to attack people who are critical. Do we not have the right to disagree? And that is a problem? You are the problem to this man. You have brought him to this point. Many of you will not even stand in Mr. Cummings' face and tell him, you need to leave the CPP. That is not the place for you. You will not do it. And now, some of them said that they needed to leave the CPP, but they were not robust. They were not loud. They didn't advocate for it. They were either passive. They were murmuring in the background. They saw the danger, but they will not fight to avert the danger. And now the danger is biting this man. And this man's chances have disappeared completely. What kind of collaboration is he going to win with now? The CPP is virtually dead. Half of Liberty Party and ANC in there. He's in court. When does he get out of the court? Before he thinks about running. This man is exhausted politically. And all you do is fight people who critique this man and question some things about him. And you think you are helping this man in any shape and any form. I am of much better help to Mr. Cummings than most of you who come after me and other Liberians who try to critique this man so that he can see the things that he does not see within his cycle and then go to make better decisions. You are the problem. And you need to know that for what it is. So let me come to Uncle Joe Boakai and leave Mr. Cummings alone, and let me leave, on a note of peace. Mr. Cummings is a good man, but sorry for him. He's in a political worship ever, and he is at the narrowest point of his political career. This is sad, right? But that is the truth. Only if you accept that this is the truth, then you will make the right decision. Then you will think about things the right way. And just maybe, can Mr. Cummings bear a collaboration right now? And when will he start that? When? Will other political parties and actors be willing to join Mr. Cummings given what he's been going through? Given this negative image that's been projected in court, in news, over and over. Earlier, I was talking about this new article accusing Mr. Cummings of receiving $100,000 to support LGBT. For some of our listeners, talking about gay and lesbians people. That is bad press for Mr. Cummings. I would advise him to not even respond to that, but they have responded to that, and so now it will continue in the news because they are not strategic. Life is a reality. You don't fight every battle. You don't get to respond to everything. It might not be the best, but it may be better. Know this and know this for free. And Mr. Cummings saying he's going to sue the newspaper. You sue a newspaper, and when they double down, who becomes the loser? The newspaper? Oh, come on. It is Mr. Cummings who wants to be president. He will become the loser from what may be a negative smear campaign on his political resume. And you issued in threat? Well, fare thee well. and fare thee well. So can he put a collaboration together? Will people be willing to go? When Musa cannot move behind Cummings, and many people have issue with Musa. And many people are getting to have issue with Mr. Cummings. And I have suggested to Mr. Cummings, something that many people agree with, be a politician for once and be one. This court case, despite the changes that were made to this framework document, some done by the lawyers, some according to ANC folks cosmetic, some they call harmless, some in their own words were changes that did not change anything in Mr. Cummings' favor. They are the people speaking. These are Mr. Cummings' surrogates talking harmless changes, cosmetic changes not in his favor. These are the people speaking, not Mr. Cummings himself. Are they ahead with this narrative to Mr. Cummings? Hello? Are they of any help to this man? When they talk this way, contradictory, making different statements on a single issue. And they don't want me to say something because I come from a village. Because I am not well credentialed as they are. And because I'm not eloquent enough as they are. And because in corporate America, I am at the very little bottom. Little did they know. I am the guy who is held accountable. I am the guy who must be in compliance for the company to succeed. And that has imbued in me the spirit of accountability. And that is what I have come with. Every day I show my ugly face. And every day I talk for my country, Liberia. And that is why I demand the highest standards, because I have been subjected to the highest standards. And I appreciate those standards. Because those standards are helping me to be a better employee and a better citizen. And so those things are demand from every man who wants to be president of our country. How is that a problem? How is that not a good thing for those who are listening to me? You want to come to this debate and argument? We are here. There are some that is this guy a media guy or he's a politician? No, I'm a media guy. An analytical one too. And I do political sermon. I'm summarizing right now. And I know some of you are enjoying it, except for those a bite. They don't like it, but you will get it. This country, as long as I have this breath, we will talk about it. Let me come to Boakai here. Joseph Human Boakai. They said he is a dedicated public servant. I don't believe that. There's a difference between being a dedicated public servant and being an expert in sitting behind a government desk and warming an executive chair. Get it? Anybody can sit behind a desk. I can tell my 17-year-old son, Derek, an excellent soccer player, and place him behind this desk to talk about this issue. Will he deliver? Of course, my son will not. But put him on the soccer field. He will perform superbly. That is his expertise as a boy. And this is my little expertise as a man. So I belong behind this desk. So let me go back to the point. Mr. Boakai has held many positions in leadership in Liberia. But when Mr. Boakai was tested, just in 6 months, 8 months, I believe, to become a national political leader of a political institution, what did he do? He quit. That is Mr. Boakai's first test for a serious national political office. when he became the chairperson of the CPP. Now, Mr. Boakai, he has been this eloquent old pop, right? He said, and I quote, "We will plant our feet so deep in the CPP that victory will be the only option." I'm paraphrasing him here. Mr. Boakai even went as far as saying, "I have the track record of resolving issues." Poor, what a joke. You have the track record of resolving issues. You have a single issue with one man. You can't resolve it. You quit. You ran away. And you think and any man should take you serious. There are folks who will take you serious. They will take you serious because you serve as vice president, and that is all they see. And that is the peril of it all. Well, that's why you see, you don't look beyond the name. You don't look beyond the title. Do you not look for the attributes? Do you not look for the results? Do you not look for the examples? Do you not look for the track records? I am in corporate America. I am at the bottom. I am at the entry level. So I experience all of these standards that can produce a competent servant or employee. Oh, yes. So I know what I'm talking about. In my job, they are not looking at me because I have a fine name called Sonny. My nickname at my job is Sonny. That's how everyone calls me. They are not looking at that fine name, Sonny. They are looking at my performance record as an employee of one of U.S. most profitable airlines. I go through compliance all the time. So when I'm looking at our leaders, I'm not a political leader of Unity Party, or the Papi was vice president, or the Papi was minister of agriculture. You think that's that title going to fool me? That is not going to fool me. When he is given a responsibility to perform, a leader is one when that leader possesses the ability to resolve conflicts. For conflict remains with man throughout humanity. One of man's greatest or humanity's greatest threat is conflict. So if one is to be a leader, it is that leader's boldness and ability to resolve conflict. And what is the conflict in the CPP here, folks? I mean, come to think about this. This thing is no serious conflict. In fact, this is no conflict at all, except that they made it to be a conflict. One man, actually two men, having a single issue in the CPP. The whole issue is about either Boakai becomes number one on the ticket or Cummings becomes number one on the ticket. That is the single issue. And it is having to be between two men. The rest of the actors in the CPP were looking up to these two men to produce a ticket. Boakai, with a wealth of experience and years of experience, sitting behind one desk in an executive chair, did not come with any of those experiences. I just wish if Mr. Boakai is given the opportunity to solve a tribal conflict in our country, whether he will be able to do so when he cannot solve a mere and single disagreement between him and another. Somebody who even having to be his junior brother. Somebody who and him share the same alma mater. Somebody he calls a friend that he has known for this long. Boakai has forgotten that he called Joshua a boy who shouldn't be giving a man's job. Boakai has forgotten that this country is in trouble in the hands of the CDC and President Weah. Boakai is not focusing on that. Boakai has forgotten that his chance of becoming president lies strongly only and only if the CPP, in his word, that will hold, had hold, or will hold, or should hold. Boakai has no understanding. For some reason, he lost it. He lost it. Why? Because somebody is telling Boakai, leave. Because somebody is telling Boakai, don't do it. He does not have his mind of his own. Dennis, forgive me for this, my good friend. Dennis is the CEO of Focus on Liberia. I disagree with him all the time. I disagree with Dennis all the time. He would tell me, Jim, brother, don't do it. I said, no, Dennis, I'm going to do it. I think it's a good decision. Allow me to fail. He said, all right, go ahead. It will not go too well. Then I'll come back to him and I said, Dennis, you were right. I was wrong. Say, Jim, brother, I told you, but you won't listen. I said, because then I have a mind of my own. What am I saying? Leaders should have their own mind, should not be afraid that which they feel, that which they evaluated or should evaluate, should be tested. But Boakai is not like that. The idea of leaving the CPP was not Boakai's thinking, was not Boakai's idea. It was a Uri's idea. Today, we are hearing about a coalition for Boakai. It was called Coalition of Unity Party. Now it's die a natural death. That was Uri's idea. No. Another collaboration called DAL, Democratic Alliance of Liberia. Again, that is not Boakai's idea. It is the idea of NDC. I believe it's the National Democratic Coalition. The party of Alare Toba and Dr. Duba Christian. It is the NDC that is putting this Democratic Alliance of Liberia together. And they want to baptize, they want to coronate, they want to ordain politically Joseph Boakai to be their guy. Again, it is not Boakai's idea. So tell me, folks, what would be Boakai's idea for leadership? What would be his idea for leadership? Joseph Boakai, when he was running in 2017, the woman Ellen Johnson Sirleaf that made him to be who he is today was being insulted by stewards of Unity Party. Boakai said nothing to them. Boakai has acquiesced the rudeness, the lacks of women pay have meted against Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. He said Ellen Johnson Sirleaf needed to be expelled. It was not Boakai's idea. Boakai would dare not expel Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. No day. That Unity Party went in chaos. It was vicious. It was bad. The party got devalued. Boakai paid the price of getting humiliated by a footballing candidate called George Weah. He won only one out of the 15 counties. What is Boakai's trial record? Can we be sure of this DAL? He's yet to reconcile with Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. He said Ellen Johnson Sirleaf should decide what she wants to do. Your immediate boss. From whom anybody wants to support you from the international diplomatic cycle will go to seek confirmation. She should be your reference point politically, especially on the international level. And he's like, let her decide what she wants to do. Why, if she decides that she's not supporting you and she will stab you in the back politically, just as she did in 2017? your political ambition becomes another mirage, just as it became in 2017. Folks, Mr. Boakai's chances of becoming president for Liberia is at the lowest and narrowest point. For the reasons I have articulated, some people say so poorly. But some people will be impressed a little bit, right? That's the beauty of it. So, folks, Mr. Boakai's greatest opportunity to becoming president was the CPP. He sat idly by and did not provide the needed leadership with this quote-unquote wise man and experienced man. He didn't have the experience enough to know that he needed to resolve the conflict to save his desire to become president. And that the death of the CPP will be a nail in the coffin, and it will bring to the narrowest point his chances of becoming president. Boakai had no understanding of the danger. Why? Because he has no mind of his own. Costa, Ure, many others, they said that was not a good decision. Leave. You have to be, and you have to be. This is like a repeat of 2017, folks. It's Mr. Boakai, the guy. And why he's part of this fight, his party has been taken to court, he's been denied, or his party has been denied in the court of law, or there's a lawsuit against him and his party not to run. This is to CDC's advantage. Just as CDC is using this case against Cummings in a court of law, but politically, it's a smart thing for them. Even though I hate it, but it's smart. Any politician would do that. This is politics. This is not for children. Mr. Boakai, if he were a leader, a wise man, as they claim he has been, and a man with a track record of resolving issues, we won't be this far. So here's the thing. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, in her political savageness, told the Liberian people that I just want to run for one term. I want to be like Nelson Mandela. Other people just give me a chance. I just want one term. That alone made some people to vote for her. That is not the only reason she got elected. I don't want to go to the history of 2005, what happened here and there. That's for another day, but at least Ellen said that. But what happened? For those who bought that lecture for Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, they voted for her. When Ellen gained that mantle of presidential authority, when she has spread her political tentacles, when projects were going here and there and benefiting people, or people felt that they were benefiting, or something coming to Liberia, they came to the realization that it was meaningful for her to remain. And so Ellen got a second chance or term. What stopped Boakai from playing similar political, or crafting, something similar? But hey, the old man is wise. So let him enjoy his wisdom the way he sees it and the way his supporters see it, or the way each of his supporters sees it. So, folks, I will have to leave you now. And I brought you a unique topic. And everything that I've said yet, I'm not going to apologize for it. The narrow paths of the opposition candidates to be in 2023. But before I can give you my closing, I will take a brief commercial break. Don't go anywhere. I have a closing so let's take that very short break. When we come back, I will give you my closing. Stay tuned, folks, for that closing I guarantee you, you're going to like it. All right, folks, thanks. And thanks for staying with me. Before I can give you that powerful closing, Focus on Liberia would like to advertise this Thursday on my program, The Hour of Politics. We will have as guest Talo Muna Kuwankwa. Talo Muna Kuwankwa has resigned as Liberia's chief nurse. Talo Muna Kuwankwa at some point became the chief nursing and midwifery officer of Liberia. In other words, she has been the head of all nurses and midwives in the Republic of Liberia. Talo Kuwankwa has resigned her position after serving, if I'm not mistaken, a little over 3 years. The question is why? Talo has a story to tell. She has an ordeal to explain, and this will be happening this Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. I will be here, and my good partner Dennis Jar will be here, and Talo will be telling the story. Folks, it is about corruption. It's about unprofessionalism, and the entire Ministry of Health will be under the microscope, and you do not want to miss what we're going to unearth. Also, folks, our program, Tough Talking Thursday, hosted by the well-rounded Dennis Jar, comes on your dial. Thursday, again, we are taking a second look at the CPP Framework Independent Forensic Report that was commissioned by Mr. Alexander Benedict Cummings. We will want to look at the impacts and the lessons to be learned. Seated comfortably to dive into this serious political discourse. Wimon Wetikuni, he's focused on Liberia chief political analyst, but he's a CDC pape. He and myself disagree 100%. Also, Ahmed K. Salif, a focus on Liberia consultant on governance and international issue. The guy has superb understanding of the discourse. He will be here. Also, Mohammed Sharif is focused on Liberia political analyst. My favorite among them is called Famula. She is focused on Liberia chief public policy analyst, and she's tough, and you don't want to miss that. Also, another favorite of mine is Tevina Cole. She got some crew blood in her, and she is an auditor. She has the experience to discuss things concerning audit. Tevina Cole will be seated. And we have also invited the lioness of the ANC, a smart, young Liberian intellectual, Anthony Moriah Yakula. We are hoping is going to be part of the panel, and you do not want to miss it. So, folks, exciting programs coming your way, all two on Thursday. So Thursday will be busy. First, starting with me at 1 p.m. with Talo Muna Kuwankwa of Sastan, where I'm from. But I tell you, you don't want to miss this thing, man. All the Jews will be in it. And so, folks, I will have to close it like this. We are on a journey to somewhere or a journey to nowhere. The village I come from is called Saston. It inspires me, but it saddens me as well. It inspires me because it's a beautiful landscape. Growing up as a boy, started school very late. We come from school and work 2 hours to go on the farm, where my boy cassava would be waiting for me with pepper and a piece of mumai on it. And after doing some farm work, I will grab sometime wood or cassava or rice to walk another 2 hours to come to town to be prepared for school the next day. What a story. I was inspired. It was a place of peace. Sastan people are Catholic people. So I grew up in the Catholic Church. And I started school in the St. Paul Junior High School, where we were taught by the Catholic nuns. It was right by a river called Droy. And the Atlantic Ocean is nearby. A beautiful place indeed. In Sasstown, folks, we have a little island close to the shore of the sea of the Atlantic Ocean, but it's almost like in the middle a little bit. That place is one of the most beautiful places you will ever get to know in Liberia. Now, on that little island in the middle of the sea, if you go there, it has sand there. That sand is so smooth that you pick it up, you put it on your skin, it will stick on your skin. The water there is a little creek in there. It's cold. Though in the middle of the sea, it's not that salty. Look, why am I telling you this? We have a beautiful country. But we have not had leaders who sometimes appreciate this country for such a beauty it has been, and to develop it. That is what we have not had. It's like when any of them comes to power, they get consumed by these titles, and will go to forget about that beautiful place called Liberia. And it's beautiful people who are kind-hearted, but yet have endured too much poverty, diseases, war, corruption, and you name it. That place, Sastan, also, folks, saddens me. After many years of existence as a country, that beautiful place I just described to you remains the same. When that island alone should be a center where tourists are coming from all over the world to go and see. For those who might have followed me a little bit on Facebook, I'm not a popular guy. I visited Arizona recently. I went to Phoenix. I drove 2 hours north. There is a place they call Sedona, where they had the high mountains. We have to rent a rental car. We have to buy gas. The government made money on that gas. The car we rented, the government made money on it. We drove over there. We bought food. We bought water to drink. Every little thing we bought, the government made money on us. It is just that place. Thousands of people are going to that place. It's a natural place. They didn't have to do much to preserve it. And yet they are making millions. I love Sastan. Sastan is a symbol of our Liberia. That is what I'm telling you, the story. Look at Moravia, for example. Look at how beautiful West Point is. Look at the Monserrato River. Look at that little piece of land in the middle of the river. How long is it going to take us to develop that? To allow boats to cross us, for people to pay money, for tourists to come from all over the world and go and see it. The Patawi waterfall. Grand Cayman County, for example, folks. Do you see what I see? And while we are talking about this beautiful place called Liberia, that possesses the huge potential to raise billions only in tourism alone, our leaders are fighting for main position and destroying themselves and leaving this country in the hands of this man called George Weah, who is so incompetent and cares only about himself and his cronies and gangs around him. It's like every day there is another story about corruption. Corruption is at the Ministry of Education. Corruption is at Health Ministry. Corruption is at LRA. Corruption is at the Passport Division. Corruption is everywhere, and this guy does nothing. And what are the opposition people doing? They are not coming together to fee a single ticket to take this guy out and save this country. Do you see what I see? If only the folks in the ANC will see what I see, they will not come after me for Mr. Cummings. Mr. Cummings is not whining about my criticism of him. They are so protective of this man. Mr. Boakai is not coming after me, or maybe he won't. His surrogates will come, right? But if you have a goal of becoming president, why not focus on that? And find a citizen who is doing his analysis intended for these men to better themselves and see the bigger picture, so that that development they claim they can bring to Liberia, for us to give them the opportunity to do it. But instead, their political fight and all the things they're doing are all intended to make this George Weah man look good and to remain president of Liberia. Folks, do you see what I see? Folks in the ANC, folks in the Unity Party, do you see what I see? Folks in the progressive community, did you hear me about Tiawan Gongloe? If you do, then show it, then add it, then be it. For only if you do those things, chances are that your narrowest level you are might become narrow, and it might become a better chance. But I said this much: the way things are right now, if you refuse to listen to these analysis, this critique, and these political elements that have been presented to you free of charge, then you are doing yourself a disservice, and the Liberian people will remain in this backwardness forever and ever. You share the responsibility because the messenger has played his part. He delivered the message. And you will claim to be the leader. Your partner is to lead. And you don't want to lead, Liberia will not be led by any serious leader. But Liberia will continue to be led by kleptocrats, thieves. And that is the peril of it all. Have you forgotten we don't have an educational system that is there for us? Do you know how much the government has budgeted for education in the first place? We are a country with a budget of 500 million for the past, how long? 15 plus years. That is our budget. That alone is not enough for education. Do the leaders really think about this country in a very serious manner? I don't think they do. Because if only they did, or they do, these useless fights and the lack of collaboration among them will not be what they do. They would do the obvious and most honorable thing: to unite, mend fences, and fight for the soul of this country called Liberia. That is my closing. And that will make me to take leave of you now. And with that, I will remind you about the favorite song here called "We Are All Liberians." That song will take us home. The song is "We Are All Liberians." So until I catch you again, My name is Ansony Sieh. I love you all. Continue to hold me accountable. Continue to criticize me. I want to be Liberia's best. I am not. With your help, I can be. Just as I want our leaders to be with my meaningless help to those who think it is meaningless. Just as our leaders can be with my meaningful help and narrative and analysis and sermon for those who think it means something. I love you all. Enjoy the song. We are all Liberians. And I will catch you another time. Bye-bye, folks.
We are Liberians.